So Heather says, how do you stay organized when you work a full-time job, have a family, and trying to post every day and keep up with creating new projects? That is a great question. I saw a bunch of people replied there, and I didn't actually see, other people struggling with it, other people giving ideas. So here's the thing. I don't have a full-time job. This is my full-time job. I don't need to set aside time for creating. I need to set aside time for marketing, right? So one of the things, so full disclosure, I'm not in your situation. But I've been in situations where I've had a very busy, full life with family, multiple businesses. And so I'm going to talk about some things I've learned from that and things I've seen other people do. The number one thing that I would say is you've got to be clear if your business is a priority or not, or is this something you need to set aside until life becomes less chaos? Full disclosure, we went, and I've talked about this before, from around 2013 to 2018, I did nothing with my business other than just keep it alive. We had built systems and email lists and Facebook followers and all of that over time. We had people finding us on Google. We had pretty good sales, and Amazon was working really well for us. So that was just like gravy on top of it. And I backed off for about 5 years and barely did anything to market the business. Now, Tim continued to fulfill the orders, but I didn't talk marketing. I didn't think marketing. I wasn't teaching. I wasn't going to marketing conferences or meetings and nothing like that. I did nothing with marketing. And really, I say nothing with my business. Like I kept it alive, but that required so little of my effort, maybe a couple of hours a week, like unless it was Christmas time when we were filling orders. But even then, it wasn't me trying to get more orders. It was just that that's when all the flood of orders came. And so I would help Tim. And yes, it did decrease over time, but I was raising my kids and I was doing all these things and I was burnt out and I was done. And I decided I need to set that aside for a while. And I think there's no shame in that. If I had to go back and do it again, I would, man, it's really hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say this, but I would almost not start a business while my kids were young. Um, and then have my husband have a good paying job. And then once they got a bit older, then start. Once I had a little bit more where they don't require as much time because I was trying to raise infant babies, running a couple of businesses, barely making enough money, and it was just a lot, and it was a lot of stress. So you've got to find your priorities, and there is no shame in saying I can't do this right now. And there is no moral judgment if you can't do this now. Like you've just got to decide what can you do right now or not. Because the truth of the matter is building a business is a commitment. Anybody who tells you otherwise is lying to you. Now I can give you shortcuts. I can save you a lot of time, but if you only have time to create product and not time to sell the product, then like I don't know what to tell you. You've got to be able to sell it. If you maybe you need to make less product and focus more on the marketing side, and then you simply cap it out as this is how much product I can make to fulfill what my marketing is creating. And so therefore my time is capped out on that, right? So will you have to tell people no? Yeah, you'd have to tell people no. Somewhere in that question, you're going to have to tell somebody no somewhere. Some point, somewhere, somebody's going to have to be told no. Or you're going to have to request that other people step up. So I have asked more from my husband, especially now that he's retired. He needs to take on more. And he does, and he did. And I'm very grateful for that. Not every husband will do that. So I can't pretend that you're in that situation. I've had to back off of things that society has told me I should be doing as a mom or a woman and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Like we don't decorate the whole house for Christmas. There are things that I call it a sacrifice, but I really don't want to decorate for Christmas either. But there are definitely things that I've sacrificed because being successful in my business and spending time with my kids was more important. And those were the things I prioritized, right? The business and the kids. To sometimes the detriment of my relationship. Sometimes I don't prioritize that enough, and I have to remember to add that back in. Um, Otherwise, things get dicey there, right? So you've got to make sure that you're able to make it a priority. If you cannot make it a priority, if you have no time to spend on it, then you don't have time to start a business. If you do have some time, then you're going to have to remove some time from creating product in order to do marketing, um, and and just have less product for sale, and that's okay. And then as you learn the marketing, and once you get those systems in place and you're starting to make the sales, and the marketing becomes easier and easier and easier, and you're spending less time on it because now it's automatic, right? Because you're like, oh, I just know I got my prompts done, I got this done, I got this done, and you're not having to learn it all, right? Once you've learned it, it's just easier to do. We talked about that near the beginning of this call. Once you've learned how to do it, it's easier. Then you're like, okay, now I can make more product for the demand that I have. Um, I like lists. I like, again, the things on my list. Most of the things that I repeat over and over again are the this moves my business forward list. This continues to bring people into my world so I can develop a relationship with them so they ultimately want to join my amazing, awesome group that I have here, right? If I don't do these things, I am leaving money on the table. If I don't do these things, not only am I leaving money at the table, but my business comes to a standstill. I have to continue to do these things. Um, if you're doing shows, you've got to decide, am I going to continue to do the shows? Is the money I'm making from the shows worth all the work, effort, etc. that I'm doing, and the missed opportunity of being able to start selling online? So, for example, if you're selling at if you're not able to do the online stuff because you're selling at shows, but you really want to get away from shows with online stuff, you're at a catch 22, right? Like, you don't have time to work on the online stuff because you're at the show, but you're at the show because you're not making any money online yet. And this is where you want to be. If this is where you want to be, if the online sales is where you want to be, then you may have to start sacrificing some shows in order to take the time to build up what you're doing with the online stuff. Now, as far as the program, getting through the program, you just go through it step by step. And only you know what your schedule is. If you've got an hour on Saturday mornings where everybody's sleeping in, but you've got some time to yourself, and that's the only time you have to go through the trainings, then just do it an hour a week. Watch the training, take some action, make some notes of other things you need to be doing throughout the week or the next week when you have your hour again. um, that's why I do the 6-week guide. Shows you, watch this first, watch this second, do this third, right? You don't have to get it done in 6 weeks. It's just a general guide that, like, if we're gonna do this in 6 weeks, these are the things I would do in order. But just go through it as step by step as you possibly can, and take action on each of those little things. And then I'm a big fan of taking a daily action. So you might have an hour on Saturday morning, but you've got to at least take that 5, 10, 15 minutes on Monday morning or Monday afternoon or whenever is the best time for you. If you're not free until 9 o'clock at night after the kids have gone to bed, then use Monday 9 o'clock at night to schedule your Tuesday morning post, right? Because it's late on Monday. So use that and schedule your Monday morning post. And then Tuesday night, schedule your Wednesday morning post. Or maybe you're a scheduler and you're going to do that on your hour on, like you'll do that during your hour on Saturday once you get through the training. So you're just going to have to find those times. But I like consistency, that during the week, like, look at your schedule. These are the days I have. So I know on Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm heavy on calls. I don't record other videos on those days because I'm heavy on calls on those days. So Wednesday, I'll tend to record other videos and I add other things to my list because I have more energy and bandwidth on Wednesday. So if I knew I was working Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's a pretty consistent schedule, right? I know what time I have to get up in the morning. I know if I got to get the kids off to school, which we homeschool, so that remove that. It saves us a lot of time. By people like, how do you have time to homeschool? We actually unschool, so that saves us a lot of times, and our kids are by and large, I would say, definitely better off for it. Okay, well, I really don't have time there in the morning, but I usually have time at lunch. And so when I'm at lunch, I'm going to do it. Or I don't have time at lunch, but when I get home, we do dinner, we do all of that. Maybe if I can get my husband, if I can get him to agree to put the kids to bed, that gives me that extra time, right? Ask of other family members to help give you that time. And then boundaries, setting up boundaries and not allowing other people, because again, as women, we tend to allow other people to dictate what we are doing. We respond. Somebody says they need help with something, or they're hungry or whatever, we tend to be the responder. I have worked really hard at creating boundaries, and especially with my kids being older. Obviously, you got a toddler, you have to take care of your toddler. But if there's something they can do, I insist they do it. If I can do it for them, I have the time, I have the bandwidth at that time. Sure, like I don't have a problem with that. But my kids are doing their laundry. My kids are, I mean, they're older now. Willow's 20 and she's living at home, so she makes dinner a lot of times. Um, you know, my husband takes the kids grocery shopping. I don't grocery shop; they grocery shop. We'll do what we call fun grocery shopping on the weekends because we enjoy grocery stores. Like that's a fun thing to do. But like the everyday stuff that we need, they do that. Um, my kids have done laundry since I couldn't even tell you the last time I did my kids' laundry. It's probably been about 10 years since I've done my kids' laundry. It's somewhere close to that. So as soon as you can start getting other people to start being responsible for themselves and setting that boundary up that, hey, mom's time is important too. My time is important too. And this is also a priority of mine. And I'm prioritizing you in these spaces. And you know, I love you. This doesn't mean that I don't love you, but this is your time here, but this time here, this is my time. And for me to be a happy, fulfilled mom who's living the life that makes me excited and eager to get up in the morning, I have to have my time too. So that's my recommendation.